Millionaire thoughts, billionaire dreams. I know niggas who played ball and gave it up for lean.
Millionaire thoughts, billionaire dreams, but my account in overdraft, I'm about to scream.
Rich man greed,
A poor man prayers,
every man bleeds.
but look how God made us.
Too many losses, it's only right that we win. I made a promise I'm never gonna lose again. Lose again, lose again, lose again, lose again, lose again.
Under the Fair Use Act, these videos are for information and educational purposes, and I do not own the rights to any of these videos that are shown. All rights reserved to the original content creators.
Yo, what's going on? It's your boy SL550, and this is the Never Gonna Lose Again podcast. Today, we're gonna get into a few things concerning. I wasn't gonna play it, but I want to play it because there's some other interesting things that's involved in this whole thing with the Somali fraud that's going on. But we're gonna tap into hold on, let me pull this up really quick.
Governor Tim Walz.
All right. Yeah, we're gonna play this. We're gonna tap in with RJ Talks TV about this whole Somalian thing. It's getting a little deeper. But first we're gonna tap in with LV Nation. He plays a clip from CNN, Abby Phillips, and I think it's the Wall Street Journal came out basically saying what Trump is saying all along about how way back when he kicked Epstein out, and that's basically where they cut ties at after it came out that he was basically trying to get women from I believe Mar-a-Lago, if I'm not mistaken. But we're gonna tap in with LV Nation about that. We'll react to that. Then we'll tap in with RJ Talks TV going over this whole Somali fraud situation. But I also want to say this too, because I've been hearing people. I've been been scrolling, been seeing all of these different people talking about this whole Somali thing. Listen, bro, these Somalians are Muslim, but just like anything else, bro, they don't speak for Islam. They don't speak for Muslims all across the world, bro. So I hate when people do that. It's like, oh, Islam is coming in, it's taking over, it's doing this, it's doing that. It's not taking over, bro. It's just not. It's just a lie. You know what I mean? But unfortunately, though, that's just what it is in America. Unfortunately, but these Somalians that are doing this is dumb. This is the Somalians that's in Minnesota that's committing this fraud. Stop trying to put it on the whole of Islam. That's kind of like annoying, bro. To be honest with you, just wanted to say that real quick. Then we're gonna tap in with Brian Maxwell. Of course, he goes into a lot of stuff that's got to pertain to COVID and just a lot of the stuff that's been going on. Bro, listen, Trump has been right about a lot of shit, bro. He's been right about so much stuff that's been going on, and instead of people actually just looking into things that he's saying, they just want to believe. For some reason, they just are slaves to the Democratic Party. And so it's the same thing with Republicans, too. People are just slaves to these parties instead of just being, on the facts, bro. Talk about the facts. And the facts is that nothing has came out other than Trump and Epstein had a relationship at one point, and Trump stopped fucking with him after he did some shit. And he hadn't fucked with him since. But for some reason, CNN and MSNBC and all of these different legacy media stations want to continue putting hit pieces out about Trump being involved with Epstein instead of the real facts that have came out already. And I've said this on previous shows with Bill Gates, for instance, and Barack Obama. A victim, Virginia Giuffre, actually named them. But instead of people actually speaking on stories like that, they want to speak on speculation and hearsay about Trump and Epstein. And it's annoying, bro. I showed a clip of when they was like, oh, Trump is all over the files. He's everywhere. He's everywhere on the files. And then they show one piece of email that has Trump in it or something, but it doesn't even really say much. It's just annoying, bro. I mean, fact of the matter is, bro, is that these people lie. We see what they're doing with N.G.L.A, right? This guy is out here doing their job. Because this is the thing, bro. These people are paid to say what they need to say, right? They're paid by these big donors or whoever, George Soros, to say what they need to say, and that's it. They don't do no real journalist work, bro. These people go to school, do all of this stuff just to be paid to push propaganda and a bunch of other shit. You got people like Nick Shirley, who's a true journalist out there on the ground. Shout out to him, and really going to these places, investigating and doing the work. And instead of them reporting on the message, going to actually see if these things that Nick Shirley is reporting on, are they true? And do they have some validity to it? Instead of them doing that, they want to try to discredit what he's saying. So shout out to Nick Shirley, doing what he's doing, and may he stay safe out there because he's definitely doing a dangerous job right now. From what I heard, he's actually looking to go to California next, so he's definitely going to have a target on him for sure. So stay safe out there, my guy, for real, because these people are, bro, it's actually crazy, bro, the stuff that they willing to do. But anyway, man, we'll get into all that. Make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Help your boy on the road to 1K subscribers. Also, hit that notification bell so you get notified every time your boy go live. Let's get straight into it.
Yeah, no, this is pretty crazy, ladies and gentlemen. So one of the biggest
Did it again. I did it again. Yo, I've been doing this shit like the last 3 days.
CNN hosts just had to admit that Trump was actually right about the story he told on Jeffrey Epstein and the last time they even had contact. Now, remember, everybody on the left has been trying to make this a story about Trump and Epstein. They've been saying that they basically say that they won the narrative war, but now you have Abby Phillips. Before we even continue with Abby Phillips, what do you guys think about all this? The way that it was handled by Pam Bondi, the way that people say, or even on the right say that it made Trump look. But now you have CNN reporting, right? Somebody that, again, is not a Trump fan reporting that what Trump said about Epstein is actually true about him kicking him out of Mar-a-Lago. Remember, this is the biggest story that Trump kept saying. I kicked him out when I found out who he was. And everybody said, nah, man, Trump is lying. He's seen in every picture. He still had contact with him. But ladies and gentlemen, take a listen to this. She had to literally admit this live on air.
Breaking news, the Wall Street Journal is out with a new report describing the fallout between President Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. The journal reports that a spa worker from Mar-a-Lago often made house calls to Jeffrey Epstein's home 2 miles away. But those house calls, quote, came to a halt in 2003 after an 18-year-old beautician returned to the club from a house call to Epstein and reported to managers that he had pressured her for sex. The HR manager faxed Trump a letter suggesting that the club ban Epstein, and Trump agreed, which does mirror the president's own public comments about why he cut ties with Epstein. The White House is responding to the Wall Street Journal, writing, no matter how many times this story is told and retold, the truth remains President Trump did nothing wrong, and he kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago for being a creep.
So just think about this. They've been pushing these stories about Trump forever, like for so long now, and then you just constantly keep seeing how CNN and these other media outlets have to actually eventually just say the truth and say it out loud. Trust me, Abby Phillips is she does not want to keep it real at all. She is, bro, she is one of the worst ones, bro. She's like, I ain't gonna say she's worse than Joy Reid, because Joy Reid was the worst. You know what I mean? That's why she got fired. But I don't understand why people even listen to these people, bro. They lie so much on a regular basis. These people get caught lying. And my thing is, why report on things that you know that is not 100% facts? That's my thing. But they keep doing it over and over and over again instead of actually looking at being real journalists. But they're not real journalists, bro. These people are just talking heads, man.
Cut ties with Jeffrey Epstein long before Epstein became a convicted sex offender. A lot of Democrats didn't, and it is corroborated by the Wall Street Journal tonight.
So now that you've heard Abby Phillips come out and admit that live on air, that
People don't
again,
care, bro.
they're her viewers, the CNN don't want to hear that. But this is exactly what Trump has pretty much been consistent on for some time, right? Just in at that time that this was posted, President Trump admits that the real reason Jeffrey Epstein was kicked out of Mar-a-Lago is because he was stealing young women from the club spa. So here is the video that is going to lead to, again, that redaction and Abby Phillips basically going nuclear on the left's whole agenda behind this. Take a listen.
Epstein has a certain reputation, obviously. But just curious, were some of the workers that were taken from you, were some of them young women?
Were some of them?
Were some of them young women?
Well, I don't want to say, but everyone knows the people that were taken. And it was the concept of taking people that work for me is bad. But that story's been pretty well out there. And the answer is yes, they were.
Yes, they were young women?
What did they do? In the spa.
In the spa?
Yeah, people that work in the spa. I have a great spa, one of the best spas in the world at Mar-a-Lago. And people were taken out of the spa.
He had to put that in there.
By him. In other words, gone. And other people would come and complain, this guy is taking people from the spa. I didn't know that. And then when I heard about it, I told him, I said, listen, we don't want you taking our people, whether it was spa or not spa. I don't want him taking people. And he was fine. And then not too long after that, he did it again. And I said, out of here.
Mr. President.
So hold on. So just think about this. He been saying this for a while now. And he been consistent on this whole story. And for a while, everybody, with all hearsay at that, no actual evidence, no actual factual information, just hearsay and speculation because Donald Trump is seen in pictures with him, just like we just seen Michael Jackson and Chris Tucker and different people. So and Donald Trump admitted that he did business with Jeffrey Epstein. This dude was around. He was around. But my whole thing is that story was consistent with Virginia Giuffre. That she said this out of her own mouth. You know what I mean? And the thing is this: multiple victims have already came out with this and said that they never seen Trump. Even Ghislaine Maxwell said herself that she never seen Trump do anything. Like, you know how, people are speculating that, he was involved with stuff that Jeffrey Epstein was doing. But even Ghislaine Maxwell said this. And I mean, I don't think that she's like best friends with Donald Trump. You know what I mean? So, this stuff is crazy, bro.
One of those stolen,
All hit pieces.
persons that include Virginia Giuffre.
Virginia Giuffre.
I don't know. I think she worked at the spa.
She said it.
So. I think that was one of the people. Yeah.
She said it.
He stole her. And by the way, she had no complaints about us, as you know, none whatsoever.
Oh man! So she had to admit that live on. Do you guys that definitely hurt her? That hurt her. So it looks like the story checks out. She says it live on air, forced to. And that is not good news for the Democrats who, again, have been trying to pursue this story about Trump and about all of this, right? Many different people have talked about the connections between Trump and Epstein and how Trump said, hey, this all stopped in 2003. I don't know this guy anymore, but I know who does. You guys do. Remember, Trump has said it multiple times over and over that the Democrats want to open up these gates. He doesn't want to open up these gates. And he says because it's going to make the country look bad, which, again, I disagree with Trump there. Open up the floodgates. I don't care who looks.
Yeah, but I don't think it's about making the country look bad. I think that I think just like him, you see how they're, well, it's because he's the president and they're trying to, make him look bad. But my whole thing is, I think it's more so the fact that there were a lot of people who, may have took pictures with him or have been involved in with him in some type of business deal or something. Like he was saying, like this guy was in the mix with a lot of people, and he just didn't want a lot of people to get their, these are celebrities, people that, are well known. So I don't think it was about making their country look bad. I think it was more so just trying to protect certain people that just wasn't involved, like, you know with this whole ordeal. But I mean, I say fuck it, bro. Especially when you got this type of situation being put on your name. I mean, I would I would do everything to clear my shit.
Looks bad. Again, we've seen the Larry Summers connect. We've seen all these Democrats texting him, soliciting him for dinner, all these things that are happening. But
Mhm.
even another leftist Democrat is realizing, hey, Trump might be right on this, right? Because this is Stephen A. Smith warning that Democrats, right? Larry Summers is just the first shoe to drop. And are the Democrats still talking about this? I know they were talking about this literally just a few days ago, talking about Trump as a criminal over this and all these things. But what has come out has not been particularly positive for the Democrats, right? You have all these things that now you have CNN hosts talking about these stories. Check out. So, what is the truth? Well, let's take a look.
He did something that I didn't see coming. He said, "To hell with it, open the files. I'll sign to open the files, no problem." And the first words that came to my mind was, "Uh-oh." Because Donald Trump is not going to do that if it's going to be something that significantly hurts Donald Trump. He's going to do it if, dare I say, he's got something on other people. Because that is who we know him to be, ladies and gentlemen. That's what it is. There's no way around this. And sure enough,
I can't believe that though. I can't believe that though because yo, Donald Trump could have went after Hillary Clinton. He could have went after Hillary Clinton, but he said he didn't. He didn't go after Hillary Clinton because basically like political etiquette, pretty much. Like he didn't want to, go after the former president's wife, and he could have, but he didn't. But then they turned around and did it to him. So I wouldn't say it's a Trump thing or that's what Trump does. I think that's more of a Democrat thing. Democrats will smile in your face and then stab you in your back, for sure.
one of the first names that came out was Larry Summers, who worked as the Treasury Secretary under the Clinton administration,
Bill Clinton
who
came.
worked on economic policies for Barack Obama, who was religiously associated with the left, who was still teaching at Harvard, and then ultimately had to step back and step away from public settings and things of that nature, scale back his role within the last 24 hours because he was one of the names that appeared in the Epstein files.
Mind you, Larry Summers is writing Project 2028 for the Democrats. He was like a big Democrat advisor. Larry Summers is highly involved in the party.
He was somebody that knew Epstein. He was somebody that kept in constant contact with Epstein. He was somebody that Epstein had influenced and coaxed Epstein into donating millions upon millions of dollars to Harvard University. I mean, in excess of $9 million. Okay? This is the kind of stuff that was happening. And you found yourself saying, oh, damn. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you, that's exactly what you should be thinking. It should be, oh, damn. Because that's just the first shoe to drop. Why is Larry Summers bothered? Why does he have to step away? Why has his reputation been impugned to some degree? It's very, very simple when you think about it. The reason that it happened was because there were emails. And those emails revealed that this man that had been married for decades was asking Jeffrey Epstein for dating advice. And we don't know all the details about it, but this man that had been married for decades needs dating advice. Obviously, it wasn't to date his wife. And not only was he communicating with Jeffrey Epstein prior to Jeffrey Epstein being arrested and indicted back in 2007, 2008, whenever it was, this was his bar. This was a year before Epstein had committed suicide, reportedly. In like 2018. And he's in there asking for advice on how to pick up this woman.
So that means that this guy obviously was close to Jeffrey Epstein for sure, bro. Like, come on, bro. Like, and this is the thing. Like, these people are so, and like that's like I think honestly, I believe that Trump. I said Trump. Stephen A. Smith. I think Stephen A. Smith knows that the Democratic Party is just done up, bro. He knows it. Like, he knows they're done up, bro. You can't come back from a lot of this shit, man. I'm just being honest. So, I mean, the main focus I think Trump should be doing is just getting shit back. You know what I mean? Getting the economy back. And that should be the main focus, bro. Because we know that all of this stuff is just, at this point, bro, if you believe any of these, things that CNN and MS Now and all of them are saying, you're stupid, bro. I'm just being honest, bro. How many times have you heard the View? Oh, we got a legal note. And now you got Abby Phillips having to be embarrassed. No, come on, bro. Come on, bro. These people make their names off of Trump. Most of them made their name off of Trump. Nobody really even fucking knew these people until, because they talk about Trump all day, every day. Yeah, this stuff is funny, bro. When it comes out, and that's the thing too. And the thing I like about Stephen A. though is obviously he'd be wrong about shit sometimes. But the thing I could respect about him is you see how he said that Donald Trump dropped the files. He didn't say, oh, he dropped the files, but oh, they're super redacted and making up all these. He said he dropped the files. And it and he admitted, like, bro, he wouldn't have dropped these files if he was in it. But my whole thing is, way before any of that, my thing is, why didn't Joe Biden and them? Come on now, that would have been the best ammo anybody could have against a presidential candidate when they're running. It's like, what? This dude is a pedophile. Oh, here goes the information. Boom, and drop it on him. But see, they didn't do that because he wasn't in it, and they needed that. They needed they needed everybody to be, ignorant. You know what I mean? And being as though it wasn't no real information out there about it, all you could do was speculate, and that's all they wanted you to do. But they wasn't really. I think honestly, they thought Trump wouldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? Because of the fact that there's people in there that would be linked to Jeffrey Epstein, and it would kind of, mess up their career or opportunities or things like that. So I don't know. Let's get into this next story though.
His Attorney General Keith Ellison and other top Walls officials facing the music next week as whistleblowers get ready to testify, possibly under oath, as to their complicity in Minnesota's state of fraud. The Trump SBA suspending $500 million in loans to Minnesota, all federal funding as well for childcare since suspended to Minnesota. The Trump administration cracking down, and New York City swearing in their new socialist Muslim mayor, promising the end to American rugged individualism and a new era of warm collectivism. What in the world is happening to our country? Let's start with this.
SBA says it uncovered what it says is widespread suspected fraud in COVID-related loans. SBA Administrator Kelly Loeffler posting in part, quote, in total, these borrowers were approved for 7,900 PPP and economic injury disaster loans worth approximately $400 million. After years, the American people will finally begin to see the criminals who stole from law-abiding taxpayers held accountable. And this is just the first state. And this announcement comes as Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and his administration face scrutiny over billions of dollars in social services fraud. Walz has deflected all blame, but a new report claims the governor received $10,000 from donors tied to Somali-run daycare centers.
The Trump SBA, the Small Business Administration, suspending $400 million in loans to Minnesota businesses. 6,900 small businesses losing their loans today thanks to the rampant fraud plaguing Tim Walz's state. The SBA, by the way, is a great organization. I'm very familiar with it, and it works. Real small businesses get their start from the SBA. Loans which banks typically wouldn't touch, the SBA will help you with. Help aspiring entrepreneurs get the funding they need to buy businesses or expand their business. So far, we've heard about COVID relief fraud in Minnesota, immigration fraud, childcare fraud, assisted living fraud, and now the Somali community in Minnesota around the Twin Lakes in Minneapolis suspected of defrauding the SBA as well. It's so unfortunate. But what's going to start happening here, hopefully, is enough Minnesotans will be affected by this, tangibly affected, that they realize the Tim Walz administration needs to go. It's time to vote in a Republican governor or a Republican AG to clean up the state. Something has to change, and I think it's going to happen. When you have 6,900 Minnesota small businesses having their loans suddenly suspended because of this, new parents relying on childcare services now forced to pay out of their pockets, all federal funding was just frozen. This will touch enough Minnesotans to wake people the heck up. All of this coming to a head next week as whistleblowers who worked under Tim Walz and Keith Ellison now may be testifying in front of the Oversight Committee. Chairman Comer calling this hearing the Oversight of Fraud and Misuse of Federal Funds in Minnesota, Part 1, scheduled for next week on Wednesday, January 7th. These Minnesota whistleblowers say Tim Walz is 100% responsible for the unprecedented fraud in Minnesota.
Absolutely. We have dozens of credible whistleblower reports saying that exact same thing, that people were told not to say anything because they'd be called racist or Islamophobic or it would hurt the state. And so people tried to come forward, but were shut down. And that protection of a particular community is what really allowed this fraud to flourish in Minnesota for years. But we have said very publicly that, yes, the bulk of the fraud we've discovered so far is in the Somali community, but some of our best whistleblowers are also in the Somali community. And it's really important that we get to the truth of this issue. And so by failing to call it out, we allowed it to continue, and that has hurt Minnesotans tremendously, taxpayers and our vulnerable citizens.
So what we're hearing from members of the Oversight Committee is they've spoken to these whistleblowers already, and what they're saying is that they warned Tim Walz and Keith Ellison personally what was happening years ago and offered their help to stop it back in 2023. In response, Tim Walz retaliated against them with monitoring, alleged threats, repression, and like a full court press to discredit them, began a campaign labeling them as racist for targeting the Somali community who got him elected, even though some of the whistleblowers are Somali themselves. And apparently, what we'll learn next week is how only weeks after bringing this to Walz's attention, he gutted the legislative auditor's power so that his state agencies could legally ignore fraud findings, meaning Tim Walz may be on the hook for all of this. And we're seeing the same thing happening in other states, other blue sanctuary states where they depend on these immigrant communities. In Washington State, the Attorney General there just issued a public warning to all independent journalists, threatening hate crime charges if you try approaching and filming any Somali business. The same thing that N.G.L.A did, he's pointing to that, the AG, and saying, you will be charged with a hate crime if you try this in Washington. You can't make this up.
Now, Washington Attorney General Nick Brown says daycares run by Somalis in Washington are being harassed. Brown says the daycares are being targeted by, quote, unsubstantiated claims of fraud. He says, quote, showing up on someone's porch, threatening or harassing them isn't an investigation. Neither is filming minors who may be in the home. This is unsafe and potentially dangerous behavior.
The Trump DOJ Civil Rights Division, Harmeet Dillon, issuing a warning of her own to the Washington State AG, saying any state official who chills or threatens to chill a journalist's First Amendment rights will have some splaining to do. Following N.G.L.A.'s viral video, there is now a swarm of citizen journalists replicating what he did around the country. And good riddance. Cam Higbee, for instance, doing this as well, visiting 7 alleged Somali daycare facilities on Monday. Some were in this residential neighborhood in Kent, Washington. Check this out. Listed as receiving $863,000 since 2023, even though the residents who live in this house where this daycare is registered as say there's no daycare here. There's never been a daycare here. Watch this.
All right, we are at N.G.L.A Safia Child Care Center in Kent, Washington. They have received $863,000 since 2023. I don't see any signs right off the bat that it's a child care facility. There's no car seats, there's no children's toys, nothing like that. So we're gonna go in and we're gonna check it out. Hi, is this Halali childcare? No. No? There's no childcare here? Okay, got it. Thank you so much. Have a good one. There's no childcare. All right, guys, we were just at Halali, what's allegedly Halali Child Care Center in Kent, Washington, which is right behind me right here. We went up to the door, the exact address listed on the state website, receiving over $800,000 in 2023. They claim there's no child care here.
A couple $100,000 for the cars.
I went and tried to ask the neighbors if there was daycare there. Nobody answered, but I could see the people who lived in that house peeling the curtains back, because just like all the other places, all the curtains were drawn, you couldn't see in or anything. They're peeling the curtains back and watching me as I walk around to the neighbors' houses, and they're scrambling and yelling, and I can hear them. What's up with that? Pretty weird. So I'm out of the field now. I'm back at the house, and I'm looking at this Halali Safia children's daycare on their government webpage, and their licensed capacity is 9, just like the other place, and their total available slots, meaning the total amount of children they can take on, is 6, meaning this daycare is only serving 3 children. I mean, I think it's likely they're not serving any children, considering they told me they're not a daycare.
800 bands? I'm in the wrong business. I'm out. Hey, babe, we gotta start watching some kids.
But at most, there could be 3 children being served by this place, and they're raking in $800,000.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Yo, shout out to RJ Talks, always giving the latest and the greatest. Let's get on to this next story, though. Because I've been covering the Somali fraud thing for a couple of days. But I mean, listen, man. At the end of the day, I don't think Somalians are the only ones committing fraud in the United States of America. So, but it's a start. At the end of the day, it's a start. And they're a big target because at the end of the day, a lot of them came here and was granted access to be a citizen of the United States of America. And so it's like a smack in the face to see that they're all in cahoots with defrauding the government, bro. Meanwhile, everyday Americans are out here struggling. A lot of people, like, I couldn't even get an SBA loan when I was trying to start my clothing business last year. And it's hard for everyday Americans to get a lot of these things. So to see that these people are able to start these LLCs and get these SBA loans, and they're taking advantage because they're probably getting pushed to the front of the line, being as though they were immigrants or legal immigrants, or however you want to put it. And it's just not right, bro. It's not, bro. Everyday Americans should be getting access to this funding, who really want to build up America, bro. This stuff is truly getting out of hand. But I think people would be more like reasonable about this whole situation when they see people like N.G.L.A not just going, not saying he's only going after Somalian fraud. This is just a big story, and he's going after the big story. But when you see other people actually getting held accountable too, outside of being Somalian, you know what I'm saying? I think people are just focusing, well, they're trying to make it seem like, oh, he's just targeting Somalians, but that's just not the case. Y'all just happen to be the ones stealing the most shit. So, I mean, it's so much fraud coming out, bro. It's actually crazy, bro. It's actually wild, man. Like, god damn, bro. Just look how easy it is for them to, like, you see that was a beautiful home, bro. Beautiful home, bro. People out here struggling, busting their ass, working hard, and these people are sitting back getting $800,000. Just think, how are you even able to get that much money? To babysit 3 children is wild. Even 6, 800 bands. So so these people aren't stupid. They're very smart and intelligent, and they're able to, create these LLCs and work the system. And you've seen it. They had 3 vehicles in the driveway, a beautiful home, and that was a Somalian woman, bro. You know, it's crazy, bro. Stuff is getting out of hand, man. Let's get on to this next story, though, with Brian Maxwell.
All right, Patriots. Now, the latest news to break is the fact that USAID and the CIA have been linked to President Trump's impeachment. And not only linked to that, it's also alleged that this is an attempt to destroy Western civilization through the apparatus like USAID, giving out money, whether it be to Soros, who helped spread it around, the prosecutors, judges, and whatnot. If it's USAID funding foreign operations that come back and hurt domestic operations here in America. In this video, you're going to see footage and clips also from RFK, who dropped a bombshell on Dr. Fauci and what happened with the jab and the pandemic, because USAID is directly linked to funding the pandemic, or should I say Blovit. And y'all know what name I'm talking about when I say Blovit. Take out the B and the L, replace it with a C, and you know where I'm coming from. So this is going to be one of them videos where it might make your jaw drop, because this doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat, whether you're in a red state or blue state. This did impact us all. And when you see what Soros has been doing with his training programs and how USAID money is being used to train people to be operatives against the United States, against you and I, and how we were being spied on, and our federal government was using our taxpayer dollars, weaponizing it back on us. This is one of those videos where I was doing the research for it, and I was saying, my goodness, I couldn't believe that the rabbit hole went this deep. And I know that I'm just barely scratching the surface. So in this first clip, this is the journalist, Michael Schnellenberger, and he has been all over the place, testified before Congress. He and I forget the other gentleman's name. They're responsible for exposing the Twitter files, the collusion between the Biden administration and Twitter, and all the documentation, the emails. He's one of the men that broke that story, which is what paved the way for Elon Musk to buy Twitter, turn it into X, which has become one of the best assets for information sharing in the world. There's no other platform like X, no censoring. And regardless of political ideology, you can put it out there, and those who like it can like it. Those who don't. But we have the freedom to be able to do it. And can you imagine if Elon Musk wouldn't have bought Twitter? I don't believe President Trump would be in the White House today. I don't believe that the country would be on the bounce back, gaining steam towards the American First agenda. I believe we'd be steamrolling towards the cliff, going right off of it into socialism, and we'd have 100 million illegal immigrants in this country, which would be American citizens instantly under the Democrats, because it would be automatic asylum. So let's get off into this clip and let you hear what Mr. Schnellenberger has to expose about the CIA and USAID. Check this out.
You have this new piece on Substack that the USAID and the CIA helped orchestrate Trump's impeachment.
Yeah, I mean, Jesse, it's a crazy story. I mean, you might forget that, the House of Representatives impeached President Trump in December of 2019. Many people may not remember that it was a CIA analyst who was left over from the Obama White House who wrote the memo that led to the impeachment. It was all based on hearsay. The person had not actually been in the room with Trump. Nonetheless, this memo that he wrote relied heavily on a report done by an organization funded by USAID. In fact, its initial founding funding, I mean, now it's tens of millions of dollars, had gone into this group called the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, a name that's not very memorable, OCCRP, but it was basically created as an extension of the State Department and then of USAID. And as you know, Jesse, this is very serious to be involved in an effort to do regime change at home, as we've been discovering as the files have come out with what Elon Musk has been doing. We know that USAID was really about regime change abroad. It was a kind of public-facing part, regime change operation like CIA, but not covert, more overt. Well, now you see a similar blowback, just like they did censorship abroad and brought censorship tools back home. They were doing this sort of thing abroad, creating a predicate essentially for Trump's impeachment. So I think it's just one of many revelations that we'll see coming out in the next few weeks.
USAID was involved in regime change abroad and here at home. Very interesting. If you want to read more about what Mike's talking about, go to his Substack.
See, so the Democrats are being exposed, and I honestly believe that 2020.
So hold on. So that probably falls under the fact when Obama repealed the Smith-Mundt Act, and basically we know that they were doing regime changes and things like that, infiltrating in other countries. Um, but it was basically illegal to do at home, and now it's coming out that they were doing it here too.
26 will be the complete mask off unveiling of the Democrat Party, because there's a lot of people who still don't get it. These
Yeah.
folks hate America. They want to destroy the Constitution. They want to destroy the country. They want it as this wide open place where everybody's everybody, and this debauchery. They want to make it like the new Babylon. This is literally what their intention is. That's why you see satanic temples popping up. That's why you see them promoting transgenderism, grown men being in bathroom with little boys. Christianity is being dogged out. Christians are being persecuted. Why? Because when you remove the norms and you make people start believing and identifying with things that we know don't exist, like the fact that somebody would even think about if a man can have a baby, lets you know that their ideological war is having impact, because these are things that we wouldn't even have spoken about 15 years ago. Think about this. 10 years ago, did you hear anybody talking about men using women's bathrooms? Did you hear anything about men trying to be in women's sports? No, this stuff all spun up within the last decade, which lets you know that the left is terrified, because under Joe Biden, they rushed in so many different supreme ideological changes that it was too much. It was an overload where people said, whoa, because usually what they would do is incrementally start changing us. It was through psyops on us, but it was incremental, where you would look up in a few years and there would be an ideological shift, but it would take a number of years, as opposed to within 4 years, they tried to make everybody be okay with men saying that they're women. I mean, just saying it on the dime and everybody else respecting it, with men going to use bathrooms with little girls, with men having tampon machines put in boys' bathrooms, with people being told that it's great to have millions of illegal immigrants that don't like our culture, don't want to acclimate to our culture, that's a good thing. And we see what that's got us in fraud. So every single norm that we had going on here, they want to destroy it. They started with taking prayer out of school. We used to do the Pledge of Allegiance every day. They removed that. Somehow, pledging allegiance to the flag of your country seemed like it was offensive to Democrats. They were even complaining about prayer being had in the Capitol building. But luckily, there were some Republicans like Speaker Mike Johnson who said, no, if I'm going to be running this, we're going to prayer. And Jim Jordan, they wanted prayer before the session. The Democrats were totally against it. Why? Now, if you're enjoying this video, do me a solid, hit that thumbs up, because our cleanness, chaos, this is where Democrats thrive. Really think about it.
It's because these people is demonic, bro. They on bro, it's a whole psyop going on, bro. I can't believe it too, bro. I feel what Brian's saying, bro. Because I be saying this all the time, bro. I can't believe that in 2025 we are even having some of the discussions that we're even having, bro. It's actually wild. And now you gotta worry about, your kids. You gotta stay on your kids, bro. Stay on your kids and see what they got going on in school, bro. Ask them questions about what they're being taught and stuff, because this stuff is in the schools. There's these teachers. It's a lot of these teachers that are just weirdos who are, trying to bring pride flags in the classroom and make, bro, this is where most of the programming is done at, to be honest with you, bro. It's done in the classrooms and obviously on these news stations too. But Trump is exposing all of this stuff, bro. People need to wake up. Seriously, man.
Thing that they've been on the side of has been crime, criminals, taking money from citizens. All the things that hurt people are all the things that Democrats love. Are taking babies out of women's stomachs. Y'all know that word that I want to use that starts with an A that rhymes with extortion, but it's a AB. You know what I mean? So these are all the things. If you stop and look, you'll say, dang, they really are trying to destroy the country from within. And when Barack Obama was leaving office in 2016, he made it legal for the media outlets to weaponize propaganda against us, because prior to that, it was illegal to use propaganda in America. Prior to him leaving out, they had an amendment. It triggered in 2016, right when President Trump was taking office.
Bro, just think about that. And that's why they were able to put out all of these stories that they're putting out, because it is legal. It's legal for them to push propaganda in the United States now. That's why this stuff needs to be changed, bro. But really think about everything he's saying. It's 100% factual information, bro. Like, bro, and listen, he ain't gonna say it, I'ma say it. With the abortion thing, bro. Even when you go back to, bro, they were giving abortions outside of the DNC, bro. They had a mobile van that was giving out abortions and vasectomies, bro. Like, come on, bro. How sick can you be, bro? And my whole thing is that was like one of the big things that they were pushing during the campaign, this last campaign. Kamala and them were really pushing it's heavy. My body, my choice, all of this stuff. When people don't even understand how detrimental that is to a woman. Like, bro, instead of pushing, I just never understood it. For me, it was always like, why aren't they pushing being responsible? I don't know. You got condoms, you got uh all types of different ways that can stop you from having children, and you can still have sex without using condoms and things like that. Like, you got so many different things that you could do, but yet they're pushing abortion. Why are they doing that? Why? It's just some demonic shit, bro.
And so when President Trump is saying fake news, he's not saying that just to say it. He means it, because these stories are intentionally fake. You know how many psyops, and that's a psychological operation, has been pulled on us? And that's where you see these big pow things going on in crowds. Now, we look at that on the news and say, wow, that's tragic. Man, that looks bad. People believe it's real. But what if I told you that some of those were not real? That they were using what's called crisis actors, and they had all the props. Think about movies you watch in Hollywood where they make the scenes look real. You really think a bullet went through that person. You really do think their neck is cut. It looks real. Why? Because they have the right type of makeup, the type of whatever type of things that they need, props, to be able to make it look real. And then the filming and the directing. Kamala Harris's campaign. Did you know Steven Spielberg worked on her campaign so that every time it was shown visually, it had better aesthetics to it? It's the same thing they do when they put out these things about this stuff that's happening. And next thing you know, we never hear about it again. It was this major thing, but then all of a sudden, we just never hear about it. We don't see any grieving parents. We don't see anybody having honorings every year. And I won't say the names because they like to flag people on these platforms for it, but really think about some of the major things that have happened at schools with younger folks around the country over the last 15 years. That was major at that time. But ask yourself, have you ever seen a parent coming out having a memorial about their child? Do you ever see the media doing any memorial episodes for this situation or anniversary episodes? Why not? Because it may not have been real. Now, let's get over to this next clip, which is where Schnellenberger is testifying before Congress. And he's going to expose how they've been weaponizing it against the U.S. citizens. Check this out.
PSYOP tactics being used by the U.S. and UK military against the American people. That is really scary stuff, reading that. Could you?
In the PSYOP, like I said, psychological operations. I just talked about it. Now, with all the fraud going on, this message is for seniors, brought to you on behalf of the sponsor of this video and partner of the channel.
I mean, they need to hear about this.
Yeah, I mean, we now know what happened, which is that basically after the war on terror, the United States used counterterrorism, counterinsurgency, counterpopulism tactics first in the Middle East as part of the Arab Spring uprisings, then in the Eastern Europe as part of the color revolutions, using social media to foment revolutions against places that we wanted regime change, and then using censorship in places to repress conflicting opinion in places that we were trying to stabilize. Those tactics were then turned against the American people after the populist revolutions of 2016. First, you saw Russiagate, the idea, this wild conspiracy theory that President Trump was somehow controlled through a sex blackmail operation by the Russians. But then we also saw a very elaborate effort to do exactly what they had done abroad, creating small committees of experts to decide what the truth was and demand censorship on the basis of it. But I also mentioned there's also these proactive influence operations, the most dramatic of which is the Hunter Biden laptop, severely illegal, but we also saw the mobilization of the intelligence community. And now in the latest article that we published today, we have documented that the Agency for International Development has overseen basically a takeover over the last decade and a half of independent investigative journalism in Europe and around the world through OCCRP and supposedly independent journalism organizations with an eye to basically controlling the information and controlling the major news media that do investigative journalism.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
In 2021, the special
So that's how we look. And, people look at my channel, they say, man, Brian, you're reporting this, but nobody else is. That's what they do. Part of their responsibility is to not cover the stories that you and I need to know, but cover the BS that they want us to see. Anything that can stimulate emotion. And see, that's what they want. People make decisions 90% based off emotion and back it up with 10% logic. So what the left does in the mainstream media, they show all of these things, a mother crying, an immigrant mother crying, clutching her baby, like, oh, I'm starving, because it'll play on the heartstrings and make somebody say, you know what? maybe
That's
we
kind of
shouldn't
fucked up.
maybe we shouldn't kick him out.
Yeah.
It'll have you making decisions.
Hey, yo, I've been saying it, bro. I've been saying it. Bro, these people are highly intelligent. They got the best of the best of the best doing the work behind the scenes to push these things to the American people, bro. This stuff is planned, it's designed. That's why I be saying, bro, this stuff is bigger than what people think. If you think, like, my thing is this: if you see these people have been caught multiple times in lies, bro, like this is not new. Multiple times been caught lying. He brung up the big Russia gate. He just was talking about uh how they push these stories and try to play on your heartstrings. That's the main thing. Why do you think they use racism so much? They use racism every chance they get. Every chance they get. And then you see people like if you watch Fannie Willis when she was at that when she was being questioned how she was acting. She brought everything back to race. And I'm a black woman. I'm the best at this. I'm the other. Like she wants you to think that she's being targeted as a black woman. No, you're being targeted because you're a target. Because the things that you've done has been found out. And you thought Kamala Harris was going to get in it. And this is the whole play, bro. They thought Kamala Harris was going to win using a black card. Because people say, yo, how the hell did she even get put in? She wasn't even like, nobody even liked Kamala Harris. She ran before. She didn't get anything. Excuse me. She's not a likable candidate. But they put her there. Why? Because they thought it would work. It worked with Obama. He was, put out there as the first black president and all of that. He was touted, but the difference between Obama and Kamala Harris was Obama was actually intellectually sound. He knew how to speak. You know what I mean? He knew how to, walk the walk and talk the talk. So he got it off. And ultimately, Obama wasn't, as far as when we talk about the economy and certain things, he wasn't a bad president. You know what I'm saying? But it was just things that he did, like repealing the Smith-Mundt Act, pushing the whole gay marriage thing and all of this stuff. Like he started a lot of the stuff that's going on right now in America. I mean, but bro, this stuff is by design, bro. Even like COVID. Even COVID, bro. You're not gonna sit here and tell me, bro. COVID just, this was just some miraculous virus that just happened to happen. No, this stuff is by design, bro. Stuff is by design, bro. These people are good at what they do. But see, they didn't think Donald Trump would win. They thought America hated Donald Trump enough for Kamala Harris to win. That's what they thought. And see, this is why I continue to say that I really truly believe Donald Trump is going out with a bang, bro. You know, he's going out with a bang, bro. He's going out taking all of this shit down. And this is why they're going so hard to try to discredit Donald Trump every chance they get, but it's not working because you can't you listen, you can't win against the truth. You can't, bro. You can't, bro.
That are against your own better judgment, not realizing that lady was a paid actor.
And look, hold on. And recently they just did it with Nick Shirley. They just did it with Nick Shirley, bro. He came out with this story, got over 100 million views. Everybody seen this. It was like a 42-minute video that he did showing a bunch of stuff, detailed information on what's going on and how this Somali community was defrauding the government for, millions and tens of millions of dollars, if not hundreds of millions. They say it's upwards of it's in billions of dollars. But instead of them reporting on the real story and the real evidence, they want to downplay it and make the American people believe that this dude is a lunatic who isn't reporting actual facts. And think about it. Think about this. A real journalist is going to go to, they're going to, like, we've seen it in real life and movies or whatever. Real journalists are going to go to the story. They're going there. They're knocking on doors. They're going to do the work. This woman was seen on camera on the telephone calling these people, trying to, make her story look good. Instead of actually going to these businesses, these daycares and whatnot, like N.G.L.A did, she gets on the phone questioning, oh, did you see the video? Yeah, is that true? Do you guys not have children? Like, and then like, oh, look, there's children's walking into the building right now. Yeah, okay. I bet that these children, you call, yo, we're gonna be out here. Make sure you bring some children to go into the building. Like, come on, bro. And then the story that came out, the guy said, oh, somebody last night broke into our building, didn't steal anything of value. They just stole all of our important documentation of the children that we have here allegedly. Like, get the fuck. Yo, bro, I don't see how people believe any of this stuff, bro. I just can't get with it, bro. I can't.
Was holding that baby, that wasn't even a real person. And you have to know that a lot of these stories and situations that they present to us, they're not even real. But they needed to play on the heartstrings. CNN and these networks have been busted multiple times. Propagandizing or utilizing fake people and actors in their news reports. And if somebody hadn't exposed it with a cell phone or some whistleblower wouldn't have pointed us in the right direction to look at what's happening and gave some information on it, we wouldn't have known. And we can thank Barack Obama for that. Now, George Soros is somebody who we're going to talk about in a second on how he's been impactful in trying to destroy America like he has so many other countries. But before that, I want you to listen to RFK, because RFK has exposed how USAID is directly responsible, allegedly, for the pandemic and what happened with Blovit. And it's funny because we didn't really hear anything about USAID being connected to it. You hear words like the Wuhan lab, you hear things about Dr. F. That's what I'll say, because even saying his name might get some attention. But the little short man with the glasses that's responsible for millions of people going crazy from being stuck in their house or walking around with masks on inside of a vehicle by themselves or in their home is nuts. But listen to RFK as he exposes what's going on and what he thinks and what he's pushing to happen to Dr. F. Check this out.
Why hasn't the Biden administration punished China?
Punish China for what?
For the lobby, for withholding PPE during the pandemic?
I think one of the reasons we haven't investigated the Wuhan lab is because the U.S. government, not just through NIH, but through the CIA and through USAID, was actually funding the studies in the Wuhan lab. And we did a very, very big technology transfer of bioweapons technology to the Wuhan lab, and bioweapons technology that was developed at NIH expense. I think the CIA was involved in, certainly in this research. They were funding it through USAID. And NIH, I think in the end,
this is why I say that this stuff is by design, bro.
Gave about $26 million in funding to the Wuhan lab. But USAID, which was functioning as a CIA surrogate, gave over $64 million. And the Pentagon also gave a lot of money.
Now, I'm not sure if you know this, but again, it's supposed to be illegal for the the CIA to operate against American citizens. But somewhere that's flipped, because when you have covert operations, like, did you know that there was a complete Chinese police force here in America, in New York, where they had a building, they had 50 employees in a full-fledged police station in New York. And so you telling me that these agencies like the CIA, they can know all of this stuff happening abroad all over the place, but on their home front, they don't know that a foreign entity has set up shop? And the purpose of that Chinese police force was to go out and attack Chinese nationals who had defected to America and was speaking out against the CCP or was not doing what they're supposed to do. Did you know that as a Chinese citizen, it is required by a Chinese law that you provide and submit information back to the CCP about your dealings in America? So in essence, they turn every citizen into a spy. Now, George Soros, who you hear a lot about, I want you to listen.
Just think about that, bro. And that's true, because I seen a woman, I forget who she worked for. I think she worked in the health field or something, but she said this. She said that because she's an American citizen, but she also had, I guess, citizenship in China, I believe it was. It was something like that. But she was basically blowing a whistle on the fact that that she was supposed to be giving information back to China. You know what I mean? So this is going on with all of these citizens. Yeah, man. And think about that. That's the same thing with Israel too. Same thing with Israel, having dual citizenship, having allegiance to the United States government and another foreign government. Come on, bro. You're not gonna see. Come on, these people are going back. Giving information to these other countries, bro.
And
This
to
stuff
this
gets deep,
investigative
bro.
reporter, because Mike, he is one of the best at as
Mike
far as breaking
Pence.
down USAID and what's going on with these covert operations, how it's impacting America. I mean, this man does the deepest of the deep dives. He's been on the Tucker Carlson show. He's been on Newsmax. He's been on any major Republican-friendly, or should I say America-friendly network. The
Joe
left will
Rogan
never have
too.
him on because he speaks too much truth to power. But
Mm-hmm.
check this out, as far as with what he knows and sharing with us about Soros, then I'm going to share with you about his training program that he uses that is impacting us now. And the prosecutors, the judges, the politicians, he actually funds these people's careers and raises them up so they're loyal to him, or he has dirt on them. One of the two or one in the same. Check this out.
George Soros openly bragging that the Soros empire was built out of the ashes of the Soviet empire, and that as the Soviet empire receded, the Soros empire picked up the pieces, was his phrase. And this is quite literally true. The assets of the Soviet government and the European governments that were under Soviet effective vassalage were quite literally sold off to the George Soros Management Fund. This happened inside of Russia. It happened in Ukraine. This was done in tandem with USAID in the United States, as well as institutions like the Harvard Institute for International Development. But it was the George Soros Open Society Foundation that played a key role in actually breaking up the Soviet Union inside of Hungary, inside of Poland, inside of Romania. And this was done in tandem with the U.S. government, with the National Endowment for Democracy, with USAID, with the U.S. embassies in the region. The same way that in the United States, Soros incubates these student groups and young people and unemployed people and criminals.
Yep.
The same was done in the 1980s. And you can argue that it had a positive result on the world in that case, whatever you're.
So in essence, what you're hearing is that George Soros literally builds coalitions out of downtrodden criminals, homeless people. He takes money from the United States government and actually is weaponizing it back against us. And the fact that we are who helped create that monster. USAID helped him fund his projects that in turn has given him the power to weaponize it back on America and the American people. And it's just insanity. When you start digging to it, you say, oh my God, same thing happened over there with the Iran-Contra. We trained those people. We trained them how to do what it is that they do. Next thing you know, out of that comes ISIS. So when these politicians in America want to make decisions, in different geographical locations, geopolitically, and they say, you know what, I don't like this person. I want to put this person in because I want them to do A, B, C, and D. And we do that, and we expect that the people are going to just love it and roll with it. No, what happens is the people that are looking at it saying, how is this foreign entity going to come and tell us who our leadership is? Then next thing you know, they fight back. And guess what the media tells us they are? They're the rebels. They're the guerrillas. When really, in some situations, they're really the patriots trying to fight for their homeland. Imagine here in America, China or anybody coming over here and telling us who our president's going to be. You and I both know people all over this country are going to grab up arms and we're going to war with them because you are not going to tell us who our leader is. And if you're going to try to, it's going to be a whole lot of bloodshed.
Yo, shout out to Brian Maxwell, man. Sheesh. That's a lot of information. Oh, God damn. Boy, oh boy. This stuff gets deep, bro. But it's crazy, man, because that's why I say, bro, these people don't care about America, bro. It's deeper than what people thinks, man. And I just be wanting to I be thinking in my mind, like, okay, if like what do people think is gonna happen if you're turning on America, if your goal is to destroy America, you're from America, your home is in America, your family's in America. What you think that how? Tell me how that works for you. If you're selling out America, how does that work for you? I don't get it. And what benefit? What true benefit do you get out of that? You know what I mean? Like I don't be understanding it. I'm gonna be honest, but a lot of this stuff is by design, bro, and it's crazy, man. And that's why I can't respect people, that's reporting a lot of this stuff, like Abby Phillips, like Joy Reid, who are spewing a bunch of garbage to people, and it's not facts. Just like the View too, them too. They get a lot of women. It's just, bro, it's it's crazy, man. They all paid actors, bro. That's all they are paid fucking actors, bro. It's crazy, man. But yo, today's show was interesting, dog. Like, it's crazy, man. Shout out to LV Nation, RJ Talks, Brian Maxwell. Sheesh. Listen, Mel. If you don't, if it's one thing that you should get out of today's show, is the fact that these Democrats don't love you. They don't care about you. These people are doing anything for money, pretty much. And they're lying to the American people on a daily basis. This is a psyop. And you can see it though. I mean, just and like Brian said, like, just think about how fast it happened too. Just like, bro, not even 10 years ago, bro, people wasn't even talking about, wasn't even having these type of conversations. Now, this is like embedded in the culture now. It's wild, man. So programming these psyop plays, these are real things that are going on, and it's all by design, bro. It's all by design, bro. Man, goddamn, that's crazy, man. But anyway, man, that's the show for today, man. If you like the show, please do me a favor and hit that like button, share the video, also comment, tell me what you think. If you disagree, agree with anything in the video today, also hit that subscribe button. Subscribe button. I'm on the road to 1K subscribers. Help your boy get the 1K subscribers. Also, hit that notification bell so you get notified every time your boy go live. This your boy SL550. This is the Never Gonna Lose Again podcast. Until next time, I'm out. Millionaire thoughts, billionaire dreams. I know niggas who played ball and gave it up for lean.
Millionaire thoughts, billionaire dreams, but my account in overdraft, I'm about to scream.
Rich man greed,
a poor man prayers.
Every man bleeds,
but look how God made us.
Too many losses, it's only right that we win. I made a promise I'm never gonna lose again. Lose again, lose again, lose again, lose again.